Aloha nerds, and welcome back to the Salawag's Why It's Great Gut Reaction, where I watch things and react from the gut. Note that I still say why it's great because that's my original podcast, and I figure gut reaction's more the sort of carnage level spawn of the why it's great. Because in general, I am making this podcast because I love watching movies and I love making movies, and I've studied it. And if I'm talking about it on this podcast, it's because something in there I thought was great. And I think even if I don't like the movie or am not technically recommending it, I'm bringing it up because it has something that I think has some merit to it that at least I'm able to see and I want you to know about. And so, with that being in mind, a couple days ago, I had the pleasure of watching Footloose. I really love this movie. Footloose, 80s movie starring Kevin Bacon and Sarah Jessica Parker and a bunch of other great actors whose names I've forgotten. Forgive me, it's the gut reaction. It's in the name. I didn't do a lot of homework. But really, Footloose was fantastic. It's a. I watched this. I'm not like a big dance or musical fan. You see, most of my reviews are about sci-fi films, superhero films, or something with some action in it. Typically, that's what I need to get watching. But in the case of Footloose, I was watching Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's brought up. Kevin Bacon is brought up many times, and then literally shows up in the holiday special of Guardians of the Galaxy, which I think was hilarious. That was fun. But to me, my one thing I would say is the problem with the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special is that the whole thing about Kevin Bacon that is the joke of the Guardians movies is that he saved the world with dance. And Peter Quill, Star-Lord, Chris Pratt, at the end of Guardians, saves the world with dance because he distracts the bad guy with a couple dance moves. But I think lost opportunity. I think they should have made that movie end with a dance off. As ridiculous as it would have been, I think that's the right way to have ended that movie. I saw the deleted scenes or blooper reel footage, whatever it is, of the accuser, Ronan the accuser, doing some dance moves. So I think they should have committed. They should have built that in. I think, movies today aren't bad because of the effects or necessarily with storytelling, but sometimes they just don't go as far as they could go. Just save the world with dance. Do it. Who cares? It's a movie. It doesn't have to be real. But now that I've seen Footloose, I say double damage. Oh my God, Footloose is a great movie. And you know what? Not a lot of dancing. Okay, so for those who haven't seen Footloose, it's like, can you describe this movie? You seem pretty hyped about it. Yeah, so Footloose freaking starts off with a bunch of feet. You're just seeing feet, different people wearing shoes, and the music picks up, and then you see people dancing, but just their feet, and it's fantastic. And then you cut to this town where John Lithgow is playing a preacher, and he's giving a sermon about piety and commitment and all these things. And you see this town is kind of lifeless. It's kind of, although yes, they have this church, they have faith, it's kind of a lifeless town. They kind of, all these people seem to be under the thumb of this fear, of this intense need to be quiet and solemn. You're not really sure what's going on. And Kevin Bacon shows up. He's the new kid in town, and quickly, finds his friends and then finds his enemies. And some of his enemies kind of look similar to his friends. There was a couple guys who I couldn't tell the difference between the bad guy of the movie and one of his friends in the movie. They look identical to me in this movie, so I feel bad. I'm sorry. Two tall guys with the exact same haircut, both looking kind of buff, and brown hair, big sharp nose. You look like you could be Tarzan. Could be a great casting choice for Tarzan. You both look like Tarzan, so I cannot tell the difference between Woody and whoever the bad guy is, the main girl's boyfriend, or the main girl's main squeeze. But anyway, yeah, so Kevin Bacon comes to town. He kind of has this baggage about him that's you're not sure what's up with him, and it's never fully explained. It's hinted at. His I can't remember if his father had died or left, but essentially he's living with his single mom and his uncle and his uncle's family, and he has a lot of confidence in himself. He drives. He drives. Kevin Bacon drives a Bumblebee yellow a Volkswagen Beetle. That's what got me right away. Is like, he drives a Bumblebee car. I'm watching. Okay. Bumblebee's in this movie. That's all that matters to me. Stupid nerd. But yeah, so Kevin Bacon, he's clearly a kid with some confidence, and you do see him just randomly dance a couple times, and he has this whole dance thing that he's doing. And then when we're introduced to the main girl, and I forget her name, she is a known actress and she's great in the movie. She is riding along in cars with her friends, and this guy is driving alongside them, and they're doing a race, and they take up two sides of a 2-lane road, and the girl gets one leg on one car and one leg on the truck, and the guy who's egging her on is trying to take her home. It turns out to be, we find out later, that's her boyfriend. Spoiler alert. But what's great about the storytelling is that we don't know that. You don't actually know what the relationship is of her and this guy up front, because everyone's playing the scene as if he's some stranger coming up on them. But the subtext is they know who he is, and actually the friends don't like that guy so much. And this is a game they play, and the friends don't like it. But here our main girl is, and she's riding one leg on one car, one leg on the other car, and there's a semi. Optimus Prime is coming down the road toward them with a full trailer behind him, and she won't pick a car. She will not jump back into her friend's car or into her boyfriend's car, and it ends up almost being a game of chicken until the boyfriend pulls her into his truck, and both cars narrowly dodge the Optimus Prime, the trailer truck that just goes by. And that is our opening of the movie. This solemn town, we don't know what's going on, and there's the party girl, the fun girl that every guy is supposed to want, for some reason has this death wish. And that's how the movie starts. And that's what got me to keep watching. I thought, I'm just going to put this movie on. It's late. It's freezing. I just want to watch something to sort of, get me through the next 5 to 10 to 15 minutes, because I'm not sure what I'm going to do, go to bed or read or something. And then that scene happens. And then I've got to know what is going on. So for those who don't know Footloose, that's just the beginning, and it's a really good movie about sort of exploring why these two people are the way they are. Why is Kevin Bacon so kind of, seems like a confident guy, not a bad guy at all, but he's just trying to make it through the day. And then on the other side, you got this girl who's clearly got some kind of death wish and is trying to party a little too hard for some reason, and they're gonna collide, and there's gonna be more more action and drama to come, because there's some fights. It's not like today's fights where people are flipping and jumping through windows and all that stuff. But it's very real when the fights happen. They're just kind of down and dirty between two people, and they're hitting the wall or hitting the ground or bumping into cars, whatever. Footloose is such a real feeling, kind of raw feeling, kind of it feels like a genuine great indie film, or maybe in today's time that's what it would be. It was just really good storytelling because, like I said, not a lot of dancing. It really is about what's going on with these people, and Kevin Bacon is seen as this outsider, this troublemaker. He does kind of have a juvenile record of some kind, and yet when we see him interact with people, he's a totally good person. You just realize that he had a kind of a low period for whatever happened to him, and same with this girl, that she is supposed to be this A+ student, and she's the preacher's daughter, and yet she's partying hard and literally trying to die. So what's beautiful about the storytelling of this movie is that, quite literally, like Kevin Bacon, the audience is brought into this town and seeing slowly the pieces unfold and sort of the thing revealed. What is it that happened to this town that made them literally have a city ordinance against public partying, and specifically teens drinking, partying, listening to loud music, all that stuff? Because what's great is that when you see Kevin Bacon driving around, he's listening to loud rock music, and you realize the town doesn't do that. Like, we don't do that here. And we don't do that here. I forgot. It's been a while since Black Panther. But yeah, he realizes pretty quickly just enjoying music is not okay here, or at least nothing loud. But yeah, for those who haven't seen this movie, it's really this excellent unfolding of that story, and seeing why is the town this way, and seeing Kevin Bacon kind of take a stand, and has this really well-written speech at the end of the movie about why the town needs to sort of come back and learn to party again. It's a really powerful speech at the end, and just a great movie. It really left me so happy. I'm still thinking about it. It's been 3 days. I meant to record this earlier, but I'm so behind. I'm 18 videos behind. I'm always doing something, so the podcast can't be number one all the time. But that's okay. I don't got no Patreon so far, so you ain't paying my bills yet to get reviews, and I'm not even asking you to subscribe. Why bother? If I suck next week, you can unsubscribe. So why ask you to subscribe? I'm not there yet. I'm just figuring this out, man. So anyway, it's really cool watching the story unfold, and again, by the time this video comes out, I should have done the Blade video. When we see Kevin Bacon dance, and in one dance in particular, he's not just dancing to dance. He's got some kind of emotion going on behind him. One dance in particular comes right after he's sort of been bombarded by the town, by cops stopping him for no real reason, from his point of view. But from the cops' point of view, that loud music indicates, oh, you must be drinking and driving and getting into trouble because, that's exactly what we outlawed, and you're not from here, and that's what you must be up to. Seeing him get bombarded by a town that doesn't want him there, and he just happens to hit that wrong chord, quite literally, the music, the loud rock music, because of the baggage that the town has. But after just getting bombarded by so many things happening, he finally, he doesn't attack anybody, he doesn't hurt anybody, he doesn't scream at anybody. He just gets to some place where he can be by himself, and he just dances the stress out. And it's just a very telling scene of a character scene. You know what I mean? It's this is all character. He's not dancing because the plot requires him to. He's not dancing because it's musical number time and we're going to tell some of the story through our music. He is this is his story. He likes to dance and he seems trained at it. So he seems like he genuinely loves dance. And it's like this absurd thing to this town to love dancing and singing, and but only because of its trauma of whatever happened to the town. So it's great, and especially you consider that dance is an art form, especially being a filmmaker, and you're coming up with a family that is not working artists. They're regular working people, and they're just like the practicality of following your art. You know what I mean? It's just when what you like is so alien to everyone around you, and you kind of have to just press forward. It's nice to see a movie that's doing that, but also really telling a good story. You know what I mean? It's just seeing again another great opening scene, because I'm trying not to spoil the movie so far. But early in the movie, our main girl, and I forgot her name. I'm sorry, because that was a few days ago. So I've lost chunks of the movie. She's our main actress. After narrowly dodging death, pulls a radio out of the car, and it's like a scene from American Graffiti. All the kids are at the outdoor restaurant, and our main girl pulls out a radio, blasts the volume. It's very loud in public, and you just see all the kids start dancing, and she's dancing. She's leading everyone to dance. It's such a Mary Jane Watson type of thing to do. That's why I kind of liked it. I was like, oh, this is Mary Jane Watson. You know, there's a girl who has some problems, and she's sort of working them out by just having fun through it. But she's just having a little too much fun, breaking the city ordinance. And as she's doing this, and everyone's really getting excited and having a good time, and just dancing and having a good time, nothing beyond that. That's when John Lithgow, the preacher, the one who we don't know this yet, but he stops the music, and everyone looks at him afraid, and he looks at everyone else just shaken, like what's wrong with you? What's wrong with all of you? Why would you do this? But he holds it together, and just I forget what he gives his daughter. It's something she forgot at home before she left with her friends. And she said, we were worried you would need this. And so it's just dad is just tracked where he thought his daughter would be, but finds his daughter is the one leading this whole group dance. Everyone's dancing, but it's not like choreographed where everyone's doing some kind of, well, maybe there is some choreography, I can't remember, but for the most part it just feels very natural, just people dancing how people dance and just having a good time. And this movie does not need to be remade. Just watch it. But yeah, that's one of these early scenes. It's like a very good drama. It's kind of in the air of like Little Miss Sunshine, but Little Miss Sunshine is a 2000s movie. It's a very different movie, very cute movie. And this is an 80s movie. It's a teenager movie. It feels to me like a spiritual sequel to American Graffiti. You know what I mean? Well, here's, American Graffiti 2, the Footloose version. Here's another town where fun was lost, and Mad Max needs to come in and bring the fun back. Kevin Bacon is Mad Max, or Foot Max. Kevin Bacon is Foot Max. Foot Max, he'll save your time by dancing. But yeah. But then again, that's the whole thing, is that Kevin Bacon without spoiling more than that, saves the town with dance. So for those of you who have not seen Footloose, I have not spoiled this movie for you. All of these scenes happen in the first 20 minutes, and they're all the stuff that just got me to stay. I think in today's time, with there being so many options of what to watch. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I got that from working at a popular retail store. That's what retail will do to you. Got a little silver spot. Oh, wow. Now I look like one of the puppets from Jeff Dunham. And a war. I don't know. Whatever. But, yeah. So for those who haven't seen it, I'm clapping, double thumbs up, double aloha hands, whatever it is. Footloose is great. It's a great movie. Just great drama, not a lot of dancing. For those of you who don't like musicals, you're not getting a musical, don't worry. And then for those of you who like dancing, it's not a lot of dancing, but it's the spirit of what the movie is that is just fantastic. I've only heard about Footloose here and there. I think it was referred to in the movies that made us, where they were talking about Dirty Dancing, and now I want to see Dirty Dancing. But you know, it was on Max. It was leaving soon, and I already watched a bunch of horror movies, so I was like, I need to watch something totally different. And Footloose was there. But it was great. So spoiler free. That's what I thought. Great film. Go see it. Now it's spoiler time. Spoiler time. I don't know why I'm making these faces. So now it's time for some spoilers. So spoilers for those of you who have seen it. Wow, what an awesome movie. Part of me does feel like we should have gotten some kind of epic dance finale from Kevin Bacon, really doing something like what he did in the midpoint of the movie. Because he doesn't literally save the town with dance. Is my only real problem with it, is that I was just expecting some sequence where he kind of danced through town, or sort of started some rebellious dance with a bunch of people, and the town kind of got into it, and then the preacher saw that, and it kind of was the thing that changed his mind. But actually it's more the other way around, where he actually does it the right way. He doesn't rebel and get the whole town dancing like a Disney movie, and then the mayor sees it and goes, wow, look at the town having fun, what will I do? He does everything the right way. He comes to speak to the preacher directly, airing his concerns, and the preacher says, we'll bring it to the council and see what the city council says. And then he has a speech with the city council. He does everything the right way, not breaking the law, anything like that. And actually, it's the power of seeing him just do things the right way, and that when he dances outside of town, and in that way respecting the town's ordinance, right? Because he's dancing, but no one can see him. He's just doing it in his own space. It means something emotionally to him to do it. But we do. But I do love that. The term synecdoche or parallel stories, right? Synecdoche, it means a small thing represents a large thing. And with parallel stories, meaning A plot and B plot, if you have, and when it comes to good storytelling, you want your B plot to in some way reflect or have the same conversation as the A plot, to strengthen the message or the emotional journey of the movie. On one of these cases, I refer to always one of my favorite books in high school that I've read was, oh, yes, one of my favorite books in school that I've read, just so you know, I read it, was Crime and Punishment. And in Crime and Punishment, you have your main story where Raskolnikov kills his apartment building landlady because in his own mind this is his will to power, his Friedrich Nietzsche attempt to will to power and to kill this bad person because this is a landlady who's raising the rent too high, people can't afford to live, they're being forced out on the street, blah blah blah. So he feels he's becoming this hero by doing this. And then he kills her and immediately regrets it. Now, he doesn't get caught. There is an investigation. But he basically gets away with it, at least for the majority of the story. And he spends the entire time completely guilt-ridden about it. And it bothers him, and he can't sleep. And he starts wandering the streets. And out on the streets, he finds a drunk man whose wife keeps kicking him out of the house because he keeps getting drunk. And yet, he can't stop drinking. And it's a problem that literally leads to his death because he just can't stop. And on the other hand, there's another girl, I think it's Svetlana, and she's a prostitute, and she's only doing it because she absolutely has to, but she doesn't want to. And so here you have a sort of an actual crime and a social crime. A cop can't arrest the drunk guy, but he can arrest him for doing lewd behaviors and being extreme in public. But he sees these people who had no choice or felt they had no choice in what they were doing, and that each one of them did feel guilty about what they were doing, but it was some kind of compulsion that they just couldn't understand why it came from. But in his case, he knew why he thought he did it. And the difference between and essentially the B plot of the drunk man is the reflection, it's the foil. It's the negative reflection of his story that kind of tells him what he needs to do. That he knows in his heart he needs to confess to his crime. But he's scared to. He's scared of the consequences. And he's scared of the guilt itself. And he's scared of what people would do to him because he feels that other people will have this will to power attitude toward him as well. It's everything. He feels so many different things. But, after the drunk guy dies, it's kind of one of those triggering moments where he realizes, no, I am miserable right now. Having gotten away with this scot-free has not made me feel better and has not made me will to power at all. And seeing the drunk guy die, again, this is a situation where a guy knows what the right thing is to do, but just for some reason can't escape his compulsion to do the wrong thing. So in Dostoevsky's novel, we just have this sort of war of, so how do you think about yourself? How do you think about how to live your life? Is it that you do what you think you're supposed to do, or you're doing something for power? Or do you feel compelled to do something? And then beneath the thing that you do, for whatever the reason may be, is what's the right thing to do? That there is some kind of inherent right and wrong energy that can be felt. And if you could just do that, you'll just feel better. Never mind the rest. The will to power only led to guilt. The compulsive drinking only led to sorrow. you know, and in the case of the prostitute, she wanted to get out. And so that inner need, that inner desire was something that needed to be listened to. So, with that dramatic example being applied to Footloose, we have Kevin Bacon's best friend, and he is the exact opposite of Kevin Bacon. He's taller, he's a little bit more rude, a little more rough around the edges, a bit more insecure, and he can't dance. And not only that, goes out in public to a place outside of town where it's a double date with Kevin Bacon, our Mary Jane girl, and Sarah Jessica Parker, who's so adorable in this movie. I'm like, oh, she is so good in this movie. I haven't watched a lot of stuff with her in it except for Hocus Pocus, so I don't really know her career so well. But it was really funny. Of course, I know the Family Guy jokes, but I've never seen the shows she's in that they were making fun of. So I'm just like, oh, ha ha ha, that's a joke. That it makes me laugh, but I don't know what you're talking about. But here I'm watching this, I'm like, oh, look at Sarah Jessica Parker, because I remember thinking she was cute in Hocus Pocus. But here she is, and she was just really standout. It's one of those situations where the supporting cast was so good, and the actor who plays Kevin Bacon's best friend, again, I don't have the name off the top of my head, but he's an actor who, when I did look him up, and he's played crime bosses. He's played so many people that I've seen in movies. He's a fantastic actor. And I'm seeing him now as a baby. But again, he's the foil. And in this case, they're on this double date, and he won't dance. And they're spending the entire scene. Kevin Bacon is dancing with the girl, but we're not focused on them. We're focused on the friend and his bored date, Sarah Jessica Parker, who she gets so tired of waiting for him. Like, song after song plays, and we realize this scene is actually about the friends, and it's not until Sarah Jessica Parker starts dancing with another guy that finally the best friend stands up and tries to get the dance. It's like, hey, she's with me. And the guy who's older, she just goes away with him and keeps having fun. Girls just want to have fun. And so he gets punched in the face, right? But this ends up being a motivation for him, so that he realizes he wants to dance and he wants to have a good time. And so we have the whole montage of Kevin Bacon showing this guy how to dance. Again, in their private spaces, a kind of a, not in front of everybody in town. Well, with their friends and stuff. But Kevin Bacon, in this smaller story, in our B story, in teaching his friend how to dance, that's the small version of what he does for the town when he gives a speech and sort of reminds the town that, yes, you went through something traumatic that made you decide that we can't celebrate, we must mourn. And how about that? Again, spoilers. This is spoilers, the spoiler territory for those of you who haven't watched the movie but are still watching this. We find out that years prior to Kevin Bacon showing up in this town, the town did have a party culture and all of that, but it was something that had gone too far one night when two cars were driving on the one-way bridge and both crashed. And it was teenagers partying on prom night, drinking too much, playing games they shouldn't have been playing on the bridge, and they both crashed into the water and everybody died. It was like 8 kids, and one of them was the older brother of our Mary Jane Watson. And that just explained so much, because I knew right away with her literally standing on both cars until Optimus Prime almost creamed her, that something is wrong with this girl, and either it's something that's horrific and sad. And because everyone's asking her why she did it, and she's just like, just shrugs it off. But that's a death wish. She's got some kind of survivor's guilt or some kind of horrible origin story that needs to be leaned into to understand this choice. And so when you realize that's her older brother, it's like, that he was one of the ones partying too hard. And in a way, she's carrying on his legacy. And in another way, it's like she's sad and she misses her family member. And again, the small story represents the large story. So it was about 8 or 9 kids, who knows, but that's a lot. That's a good chunk of this town, and it's a small town, so everyone knows everybody. That's a good chunk of people missing someone, and in this case, missing a child. And that would be traumatizing enough to make a whole town give up on dancing. And it's a really good story. I thought, man, for the story to be so well written, and I don't know any backstory, so I don't know any backstory, just reacting from what I'm seeing. But it's just so tightly written. It's such a strong motivation for things to happen, but also a great motivation for why dance can save this town, because they've been in mourning. And that's what's beautiful about the speech from Kevin Bacon. He reads the speech from the Bible. There's a time to mourn and there's a time to dance. And it was just like, wow, you know what I mean? It's a reminder that you gotta live too. That there's a time for that and there's a time for the other. I just thought, what a powerful, emotional ride to put me on, watching this movie, watching all these people fight and have these conflicts, and watch a literal town that just seems like it's lost its spirit, get its spirit back. A resurrection story. And also, I just feel like that's kind of what we're needing in this day and age right now. I think there's just so much tragedy going on all the time. We need some Kevin Bacons in this world. We still, we need to help the guy who can't dance, who can't eat, who can't do whatever he or she needs. But then we also need to lift everyone's spirits up so that we can all remember to stand up and enjoy what we got in this life. It's crazy. I just thought that's a really touching, good movie. And that's really the whole of what I have to say about Footloose. I just thought really well constructed character storytelling with our B plot and with our overall message, and also just the arc of the town, and the arc of our character, our hero himself, Kevin Bacon. He doesn't change per se. It's more that he gets to find a home, because he's a guy who needs to make a home out of this town, and he can't have it. It's just his whatever home life he had as a kid was disrupted and destroyed and led to his own dark story. But he came out of that dark story, and again, when he starts off in this movie, he's a heroic figure. He is sticking up for himself, sticking up for other people, and also just represents good values, the way he respects people and he just has good behaviors that are expected of someone who's supposed to be a heroic figure. And yet, because he plays loud music out of his car, has been immediately ostracized by a town. But I just thought this is a great story that's kind of a meditation on dealing with loss. and how do you deal with it the right way. And again, it sort of respects the loss. It says, it's understandable that you needed some time to breathe, but also don't forget that sometimes you have to laugh. You need to laugh. You need to breathe. And it's just that sort of refreshing, positive take on dealing with loss. And I bring this up also because I want to bring up a couple other movies. I also recently watched The Village and Signs. And I know a lot of people, even at the time, there was sort of a division on both Signs and The Village. And I remember being part of the positive people looking at Signs and one of the negative people looking at The Village. And now that I'm older, been through more, and even where I am at this moment, what I'm bringing these movies up because they are connected with Footloose. I think and this is going to be spoilers, so if you haven't seen The Village or Signs, I highly recommend both of them. M. Night Shyamalan is one of my, I would say kind of, a mentor. Like, I look at his movies and I wish I could be that good. And I aspire to have that strong sense of storytelling and character writing that he has in his films. And again, if you've seen my other reviews, I believe that if you have someone who has a strong voice, you compare their movies to their other movies. You don't compare their movies to other people's movies, because this person is speaking from a certain perspective, and you have to kind of grapple with what that perspective is to actually appreciate what they're trying to do. There's some room for comparison to other movies, but you really got to be looking at what's the conversation that this director is in. I don't think you judge a Spike Lee movie the same way you judge a Sam Raimi movie, nor do you judge a Christopher Nolan movie the same way you judge a Steven Spielberg movie. They're going for different things and have different processes that they think about that makes them make that movie, and their rubrics are just not going to match up. Because the exact thing that you love or hate about a Spielberg movie might be the thing you love or hate about a Del Toro movie. Like, I love it when Del Toro does, these wild special effects shots, and then I watch a Spielberg movie and I hate when he does these wild special effects shots. He shouldn't be using CGI. You know what I mean? It's just, every director is different. But when it comes to The Village and Signs, both of them have something beautifully in common, and definitely in common with Footloose. When you see Signs, it's about this family that has recently lost a mom/wife, and again, the uncle is there to help out. But over the course of the movie, over and over again, it's stated to Mel Gibson, the father, literally a father, he's also a preacher, telling him, look, you got to let these kids have fun. And he does, but he's not personally involved. And there's just, you see this sense of cutoff between the family members. And Joaquin Phoenix is fantastic. And that movie's, when you look at Signs, it's about a sort of a family getting over loss, and it's a microcosm because it's just really about these four characters dealing with what's going on. And then when you look at The Village, it's a much bigger story where, again, spoiler alert for those who haven't seen it, go watch The Village. I'm telling you, it's a great movie. Even if you don't like the twist, go watch it and then come back right at this moment. When you look at The Village, the dividing moment that put me on the negative side was that the reveal was that this town was fake, and it was all just a little bit too extreme to see this blind girl go on this epic journey and somehow get medicine from some nice park guy. It was all quite a lot and a lot of people didn't like that the monsters weren't real. You know, With Signs, people mostly said they didn't believe that an alien race would fly over here and not just use guns or some kind of technology to bust open our doors. But I remember seeing this great interview, or this interesting interview from M. Night Shyamalan, where he said, yeah, but you don't know anything about these aliens. You don't know if they have their own religious reasons for doing things that the way they do them. And I thought, wow, that puts a whole different spin on the alien race that no one ever considers. Doesn't the alien race have their own philosophy? We always want it to be a direct reflection of ourselves. But just that notion of, oh, it's not, it's something else, it's something different. But if you look at the village, this entire town is created because each of the elders had some kind of horrific loss, and they thought by creating this fake town that existed without modern technology, that they would have a town without crime and without tragedy. And what they are proven wrong when a murder or an attempted murder occurs upon Joaquin Phoenix. And that's when they realize that, look, this just life comes with these hurdles, and there's just no escaping it. And what I think is beautiful is that now, because we're dealing with so many different characters and so many different voices and so many different reasons, now we have the macrocosm. So we have the larger examination of the same concept of how do you deal with loss. And what's beautiful about Footloose is that it's exactly about the final part. It's about saying there's a time to dance. Because despite the village having a huge amount of it, of the town seeming like it's happy and everything, it's really a facade to realize that the elders are pretending to be happy. They haven't really dealt with anything. In fact, the very fact that they made a fake town is them not dealing with anything. And so when they are hit with tragedy again, it hits them so hard because they realize our lie doesn't work. We just have to face reality and face mortality and deal with it, because it has come again. And it's just because it's part of life. And I think that's my take on what that movie's kind of hinting at. But both, it's just about this immense tragedy changing the way people handle their lives. And the beautiful thing, I feel like Footloose, although made 20 years before those movies, Footloose is about the resolution part. It's about how do you get to the resolution part, because you've committed to years of the facade or the change of lifestyle that's supposed to fix everything, and it doesn't. And it's like, there's a time for Hakuna Matata. There's a time for being footloose. So that's just what I think about those movies, and I just wanted to bring them up because I felt like Footloose, to me, also spiritually was like that trilogy conclusion to that issue that I think is beautifully brought up in all three films about dealing with loss and how to do it the right way, because everyone tries their version of the right way, and you realize that just trial and error is also just a part of the process, that no one finds it easy. And so yeah, I just thought Footloose was beautiful, and I really wanted to throw those comments out about The Village and Signs, because I still think Signs is great, and I think it's even better now. And now I love The Village, and I gotta get it, because every time I watch it, I see it under that lens, since I watched it a couple times ago. And I start to see, oh God, this is what they're talking about. But Footloose does it in such a fun, fresh, fun feeling way. It's so well done. And yeah, that's what I got to say on Footloose. Thank you for watching. Aloha.